What if there was a way to guarantee 52 new relationships with your ideal clients every single year? Well, there is a way, and it's not as hard as you think. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to the B2B Growth Show, a podcast dedicated to helping B2B executives achieve explosive growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. I'm James Carberry.
And I'm Jonathan Green.
Let's get into the show. Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. We are here today with Matt Benati. He is the co-founder and CEO of LeadGnome. Matt, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Great to be here.
Really excited to chat with you, Matt. We are going to be talking about account-based intelligence and how it drives B2B growth. You've got three really specific ways that it drives that growth. So this is going to be super relevant to our audience. But before we get into that, could you explain to our audience a little bit what LeadGnome does, what you and your team are up to?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So first, I want to say that what LeadGnome does comes directly out of my marketing experience. I've had a decade in marketing, leading companies like LogMeIn and Netezza. So, what I've experienced, I needed a solution for, and I couldn't find it. So in a nutshell, LeadGnome, we sort of lead this account-based intelligence space, and our mission is to mine the mountains of emails that all of our customers already receive. I mean, it's literally right there for them. And we deliver all this great information. So we literally convert what is typically discarded as waste into pipeline driving data for our customers.
I love it. We were talking about it offline, and I think it's an incredible tool.
It almost sounds eco-friendly in the digital space. Like, yeah, this is all wasted stuff, but we actually turn this into something useful for you.
It's funny, Jonathan. I think of it as a car's turbocharger, right? That converts exhaust into horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
LeadGnome converts these sort of wasted reply emails into account-based intelligence that boosts our pipelines.
Very cool. Very cool.
I love it. So you've got three specific ways that you're going to be sharing with us today that account-based intelligence drives B2B growth. This first one is around lead gen. Can you unpack this first one for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So, account-based intelligence is all about focusing in on the accounts that sales is targeting, right? Much in line with account-based marketing. Account-based intelligence supports all that, helps that succeed by delivering the information that's necessary to support and drive this pipeline. And so when we're talking about lead generation, it's very important to generate these leads that when you qualify them and they go over into the sales side of the house, that they're in the accounts these folks are looking for, right? We've all been through this lead-based process of the past where we generate 1,000 leads and we throw them over the wall to sales, and sales just looks at us again saying, great, you met your targets, but only 2 of these leads are in our accounts. What's the deal? Help us out. So lead generation is really important. And what we're finding with LeadGnome is that our customers with just 2 campaigns a month can increase or boost their lead generation by 36%.
Wow, that's crazy. So this next one that we're going to be touching on, kind of looking at, is really diving into enhancing your existing leads. Can you talk to us about that a bit?
Absolutely. So existing leads in our database are really challenging, right? They either have holes in the records or the records themselves go stale. A recent report by ZoomInfo and others have also come along with reports after this show that between 40 and 60% of our leads go stale every year. I mean, this is a phenomenon that all marketers are aware of, and they're trying to combat in any way they can, right? It's the worst thing to do when you send in an email to somebody who was once, for example, your day-to-day user, and they're now your buyer, right? Because the message needs to be completely different. What LeadGnome can do, and what you need to do in account-based intelligence, is to fill in the missing pieces of a record so that we can segment appropriately, we can personalize appropriately. We need to definitely do that, but we also need to keep up with the changes that are occurring with our contacts, right? They may have gone to a different company. They may have had a new title. their company name may have changed. And this is odd. ZoomInfo tells us that over a third of companies change their name every year. Isn't that an interest? I mean, you'd never think that.
No,
and yet things like that happen, right? They rebrand, they get acquired, they merge, whatever it is. So for a variety of reasons, your database is decaying, and it's decaying at a huge rate. And we need to overcome that so that your productivity stays and in fact increases.
That's good. This last one, Matt, that we're going to touch on, and this is really the big daddy, something that Craig Elias talks about a lot. I think he kind of put this on the map, but it's this idea of trigger event selling. Can you, for those that have not heard of Craig's methodology, can you explain what this means and kind of how it works within LeadGnome? Yeah,
absolutely. So Craig Elias is a well-known sales expert, and he noticed over his years, he's funny, he's a pretty humble guy, and he'll start with a joke saying that he just stumbled into this, that he was really just a lucky salesperson, and that what he noticed was that timing is everything, right? So his research shows us that if you're into an opportunity first, your win rate is 74%.
Wow.
It's just amazing. So you need to get, to have your salespeople into that account, find those opportunities first, and your win rate will just skyrocket. So trigger events are the key to doing this. If somebody leaves the company, and this is where Craig sort of shocked everybody with this example, and it took trigger event selling sort of to that pinnacle of selling, he looks for hard bounces. Most people say, oh, there's a hard bounce, that person's no longer there kind of thing, and they just let it go. And he says, no, wait. Yes, it's a hard bounce. Don't let that be a dead end. You can turn that into 3 prospects. So you go and you find out, where did that person go to? That's a new opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Who did your original person replace at that company? That person's gone somewhere too. That's an opportunity. And who replaced the person that left the company? So my point is that he has a multiplication effect on a left the company, and he waits for a hard bounce. Well, with LeadGnome, you get a 3 to 6 month advantage on that because we identify left the company emails. Most companies nowadays put these out, right? It's, hey, Matt's no longer with the company, but don't worry. James is here. Well, Matt left, and you have the new contact. We automate a good portion of Craig's process, and then you can go and get into those opportunities and win them at 3/4 of the time. But there's so many of these trigger events.
When you say that you get ahead of it with 3 to 6 months, so when your marketing automation platform sends an email and it gets a response that says so-and-so has left the company, so that's 3 to 6 months before it goes into a hard bounce. Am I understanding that right?
That's right. So as a manager, in my own experiences, when somebody leaves, you want to make sure that, 2 things. One, your customers don't find out through some other means that this key person has left the company, right? That's just not good business. You want to make sure that you're continuing to nurture and have a rapport with your customers. So you want to be proactive about that. So that's one reason. The other reason is that selfishly, internally, there's day-to-day business that was occurring with this person. You want to make sure nothing slips through the cracks.
Yeah.
So, a month's time is really not enough for certain cycles to occur. So most people keep a left the company email running for at least 1 quarter, probably 2 quarters. And so it's only at that point would the company say, okay, let's stop this. We're no longer going to accept these emails at this email address. And the server basically rejects or bounces an email coming into that address.
Got it.
So that's a huge lead time.
Yeah, that's phenomenal, Matt. Could you share with us maybe another type of trigger event that'll get our listeners thinking about just this concept in general?
Yeah, here's a great one. Let's talk. We started talking about the sort of the top of the funnel or the beginning of a sale, but let's talk about renewals, which, as we know, are critical for SaaS companies, right? They're critical in general, but SaaS companies, it's even more so because it's 100% revenue, again, year after year after year. So renewals become critical. Let's say that your marketing department has a newsletter that goes out keep a rapport, keep an engagement with your existing customers. So your day-to-day users get this email. It tells them product things. It tells her, here's the next feature that's coming out, etc. Well, what happens if that person has been promoted? And now she's not your day-to-day user. She's your buyer, right? Yep. You want to be able to message her appropriately. You want to talk to her about other things that you could sell to her that would increase the value of what you provide, et cetera, et cetera. You certainly want to make sure that renewal that comes up is messaged to her because she's the buyer now. And so LeadGnome watches for things like titles, right? So you can find that this person's title has changed. And that gives you a trigger to say, okay, now who was that person, was our buyer. She, this person, say Mary, is now that buyer. Let's go message to her. Let's make sure we have a completely different discussion with her, around the whole notion of renewals or selling in or cross-selling. Powerful stuff.
Yeah. Matt, I had a quick question because I love, the examples you've given about the, how this account-based intelligence can sort of drive your B2B growth. But you had mentioned that disconnect when it comes to account-based intelligence between your marketing and your sales team. So a lot of this seems like this is great information, and I can see how your sales team is utilizing this information. I mean, is there a way then to get your marketing team aligned then with the sales team, this information that your sales team is using?
It's a great question, and it's something that I'm very passionate about at all the companies I've been at. This is typically a disconnection, and it's one that very much stunts the growth of companies. And so you're exactly right. The way that we align, the common discussion point needs to be around the accounts that sales are targeting, right? They've got ideal customer profile, and the way I talk about it is an ideal account profile.
Right.
All right. And so marketing needs to understand that and target those companies, those accounts, and in turn needs to create an ideal buyer profile. The combination of those two is the ideal customer profile. And so when you align, when marketing and sales sits down at the table at first, talks about this, and then marketing can go in and say, all right, I'm going to email into these accounts. What LeadGnome does is it broadens and deepens your knowledge in that account. You get net new contacts in there. You figure out these trigger events, right? You increase the understanding of existing leads. All of that provided to sales arms them with the information they need to be as productive as possible within those target accounts.
Yeah,
that's really good. That's good, Matt. This has been really, really good content. I think our listeners are going to get a ton out of it. If there's someone out there listening and want to connect with you, learn more about LeadGnome, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
Well, you can certainly visit the website, www.leadgnome.com, and, spelled LeadGnome. We mine emails for you. But you can also reach out to me directly. I'm happy to talk to anybody that wants to learn more about this. I'm Matt at LeadGnome.com.
Matt, thank you so much for your time today. Again, this is going to be super valuable, so I really appreciate it, man.
Oh, it was great. My pleasure. Thanks, guys.
To ensure that you never miss an episode of the B2B Growth Show, subscribe to the show in iTunes or your favorite podcast player. This guarantees that every episode will get delivered directly to your device.
If you'd like to connect with B2B executives from all over the world, make sure to join our private Facebook community. There are some incredible conversations happening inside this group. To join, visit b2bgrowthshow.com/FB.
Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.